Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Apologies for that delay. We had some technical issues which have been sorted out now, thankfully. So thank you for bearing with us. I'll put the text of my words in the group and to be shared with people that couldn't hang around. So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Shalom. I'm David Mencer, Israeli government spokesman for the National Public Diplomacy Directorate in the Office of the Prime Minister. On this Thursday, the 5th of December, day 426 of the October 7th war. Just a couple of quick points from me and then straight to your questions. On the tragic fallen amongst Israel's armed forces, it is with regret that I share with you that since our last briefing, 808 have fallen. Staff Sergeant Zamir Burke was 20 years old and from Bet Shemesh. He fell a week ago in a battle in northern Gaza, and Captain Omer Maxim Nutra was 21 years old and a lone soldier who emigrated from New York. He was killed by Hamas on October 7th last year, with his body still being cruelly held hostage by Hamas. His parents for the last year have gone the world over to raise Omer's plight. Enormous determination, with enormous trauma. They campaigned across the world about his struggle, but now his death has been confirmed. The achievements of the military campaign are many, but the war has unfortunately exacted a very heavy price. Our hearts are with the bereaved families. May their memories be a blessing. Next, last night we received news that the body of our hostage, Itai Svirsky, his body was recovered in a complex and courageous operation by Israel's security service. He will now get the dignified burial he deserves, unfortunately joining his parents, Orit and Rafi, who were brutally murdered on October the 7th. So I wanted to share with you our latest data on our hostages. On October 7th last year, Hamas took 251 hostages. 155 people have been rescued and returned. As of now, Hamas holds 100 hostages in Gaza. Now, 96 abducted on October 7th and 4 others taken before October 7th last year, since 2014. We believe that Hamas holds 36 bodies, 2 kidnapped in 2014, the late Hadar Goldin and Oron Shaul, and the bodies of 34 others taken on October 7th last year. Of the 96 people taken hostage on October 7th last year, 83 are women, 83 are men, 13 are women, 2 are children under 5, Ariel and Kfir Bibas. 86 are Israelis, 10 are foreign nationals, 8 from Thailand, and 1 from Nepal, and 1 from Tanzania. 155 hostages were either released or rescued. That's made up of 4 Israelis released before the November 2023 outline deal with Hamas, and 1 was rescued by IDF soldiers. 81 Israelis and 24 foreign nationals were released during the outline deal almost exactly a year ago from Hamas from November 24th to November 30th last year. 35 hostages were murdered by Hamas and their bodies were returned to Israel by the IDF. And 3 hostages were accidentally killed by the IDF. In Operation Golden Hand, in February the 12th, 2024, our forces rescued 2 hostages in Rafah. Louis Har is 71, and Fernando Marma is 61. Operation Arnon in June the 8th, 2024, our forces rescued Noah Argamani, age 25, Almog Meir, age 21, Andrei Kozlov, age 27, and Shlomo Ziv, age 40. They were all rescued from the center of Nusirat in Gaza. On October 27th this year, the IDF rescued Farhan Kadi. So in conclusion, the state of Israel will do everything in its power to bring them all home. Next, on the latest Amnesty report that condemns Israel, let me share with you the 5 reasons why it's not actually worth the paper it's written on. Amnesty's bias, firstly. With a record as long as your arm, Amnesty has a documented history of framing Israel as fundamentally illegitimate. For Amnesty, Israel was born guilty in 1948 and have been guilty ever since. They ignore the genocidal intent and actions of Hamas. Number 2, Holocaust inversion. Genocide, they cry about Israel. They distort reality and downplay the clear intent of Hamas to annihilate Israel. Just listen to what Hamas and Iran say. 3, selective evidence. Amnesty's claim lacks credible, verifiable evidence and omits Israel's humanitarian measures. 1,166,000 tons of aid have gone into Gaza since the start of this war. Gaza's population has actually increased. Next, legal misrepresentations. Amnesty manipulates international law to falsely portray legitimate self-defense as genocide. And lastly, Amnesty encourage terror tactics. By actively attacking Israel for defending itself, Amnesty incentivized terror groups to murder their own people. Next, on COGAT and aid going into Gaza, more food and aid are going in all the time. Here are the latest figures. In October this year, 34,000 tons of aid went in, but in November this year, 54,000 tons went in. 65% is food, the rest being shelter, fuel, medical supplies, and cooking gas. Over the past few days alone, more than 120 trucks loaded with flour for bakeries have gone in through Gate 96. That will supply 15 bakeries for several days. And the latest figures are just yesterday, 161 humanitarian aid trucks went in, 120 via Kerem Shalom crossing, 41 via the Erez crossing for civilians in northern Gaza. The trucks carried food, flour for bakeries, and medical aid, including vaccines. 58 trucks were collected from the Gazan side of Kerem Shalom, but still our almost daily reminder that there are still 800 trucks worth of aid awaiting collection on the Gazan side of Kerem Shalom. As we've said before, Israel is committed to get more and more aid in. So that's the end of our briefing here today. Questions, please, in the chat, and we'll take them. First question I can see here is from Fred Ager, and I'll read this question. Israel's Foreign Minister Israel Katz has criticized Amnesty International for accusing Israel of genocide in the Gaza Strip in its latest report, qualifying as fabricated and based on lies. Katz argues that Israel has been defending itself from daily attacks on 7 fronts since October 7th, in strict compliance with international law. Amnesty International Israel rejects the report, stating it was not involved in the research, funding, or writing of the report, and criticizes the flaws in the methodology used. Authors had a predetermined conclusion, they said, producing artificial analysis, and calls for critical reconsideration of Amnesty's working procedures. Does Israel's Prime Minister's Office have any additional comment regarding Amnesty's accusation of genocide? Thank you for that question, Fred. I've given the 5 reasons why this report is incorrect. Amnesty, unfortunately, have a long list of falsifying accusations against Israel, as our Deputy Foreign Minister Sharon Haskell has just said today. They actually redefined the legal definition of genocide to suit their own requirements. So this is a false report with false accusations, with false figures, and it is once again designed to tie Israel's hands from defending itself. It is designed to further the case for lawfare. It is designed to malign this country, as it does, or as almost every Amnesty International report does. But I have laid out the 5 reasons why we believe this report to be false, and any objective observer will come up with the same conclusion again. False figures, a belief that Israel, the very existence of Israel, is in some way does not fit in with Amnesty International's worldview. But I've listed the 5 reasons, and I'll share those with you afterwards in the chat. Any other questions? No, that's the last question. So, apologies again for the technical problems we had earlier, which we managed to sort out in the end. I'll put in the briefing to today's in the group, but in the meantime, the next briefing will be next week. We are available. Oh, there's another question here from Lior at the Washington Post, and I'll read out your question, Lior. Just give me a second. And here is your question. Are the evacuation orders being issued, civilian infrastructure destroyed, and military infrastructure being built in North Gaza in order to prevent the return of Palestinian residents to the besieged areas of Beit Lahia, Beit Hanun, and Jabalia? Thank you for that question, Leo. I'll just read your question again so that everyone can hear it again. And the question is from Leo Soroka at the Washington Post. Are evacuation orders being issued, civilian infrastructure destroyed, and military infrastructure being built in North Gaza in order to prevent the return of Palestinian residents to besieged areas of Beit Lahia and Beit Hanun and Jabalia? Well, let me answer that question very simply with one word, and that answer is no, Leo. At this point, for as long as anti-terror operations are ongoing in the northern parts of Gaza, where Hamas and Islamic Jihad are trying to regroup, and as long as those anti-terror operations are ongoing, we will not allow residents to move back, because we know that the purpose of them moving back is simply so that they are used as human shields by the terrorists. So the answer that we give you is a comprehensive no. That is not the reason. It is to keep them out of harm's way and to prevent them being used as shields by the terrorists. Next question here is from Mark Weiss at Khan English News. What are the red lines in the Syrian conflict that would prompt Israeli intervention? Thank you for that question, Mark. The IDF have already dealt with this issue of the situation in Syria. And I'll leave it for the IDF. Daniel Hagari gave quite a comprehensive Israel's response to the situation in Syria, and I've got nothing more to add to that, so I would point you to those comments. Okay, that is the last question, I believe. Let me just check one more time. Yes, that's the last question. Okay, so thank you for joining us. Thank you for bearing with us. Apologies for the delay today. We'll sort out these technical issues, and please do stay safe, and we'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.